Good morning, grade 4 students. Mr. Waterman here with today's mathematics lesson. I hope you're all doing safe and well. Today is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020. Now, I hope you and your families all had a nice and relaxing summer vacation, and I hope everyone is safe and well. It has been several weeks since we have studied together, but don't worry, I'm going to make it as fun and interesting as possible. Let's begin. Now we are studying graphs. If you look here at the picture, this is going to give you an idea about the type of graph we are going to be studying. Some of you already know what kind of graph this is. One of the most important things to remember with graphs is that reading and understanding graphs is really important. Let's continue. Look at this information. In my class, 3 people have hamsters. Also, some people have cats. 6 people. But more people have dogs than cats. 7 people. Some people also have goldfish and birds. Only 2 have birds, but 4 people in my class have goldfish as pets. Huh? Is this information easy to understand? Look at his face. I don't think this information was easy for him to understand at all. Now, look at the same information. Does that look much easier to understand? And it's very colorful too. Graphs make it easy for us to look at and understand information and numbers. Bar graphs. Please read along with me. We usually use bar graphs when we are comparing categories. Look at this bar graph. Which categories can you see? How are the categories different? So if we look here, take a look at what you can see. You can see numbers, and you can see types of what? Let's go on. Bar graphs have 2 axes. This part here and this part here. Those are called the axes. Bar graphs have 2 axes, a horizontal axis and a vertical axis. So let's repeat those words again. Axis, axis, horizontal, horizontal, vertical, vertical. Usually, the horizontal axis will show the categories, and the vertical axis will show the number of each category. Let's look here again. Here's our horizontal axis. The horizontal axis here is the type of pet. The horizontal axis goes from left to right. The vertical axis will show the number of each category. Here's our vertical axis, the number. That's the number of people that have these pets. The vertical axis goes up and down. Look at these bar graphs. What information do you think they tell us? Let's take a look. What do you think this bar graph tells us? Look at the axis, right? Look at our vertical axis. What does that tell us? Look at our horizontal axis. What does that tell us? Well, the vertical axis, it tells us the number of students. The horizontal axis tells us the score. Number of students and score. Hint, your teachers ask you to always study hard because you will have to take a blank over everything you have learned and you will get a score. Do you think that maybe this bar graph is telling us about the test scores for the number of students? If you did, you would be correct. Let's take a look at this bar graph. What information do you think this bar graph is telling us about? Here again, on the vertical axis, we have the number of students. But this time, on the horizontal axis, we have the amount of money spent on Halloween costumes. That's very exciting because Halloween is next month in October. Are you thinking about what costume you want to wear for Halloween? All right. So now we've gone through the information on bar graphs. And now what I would like to do is I'm going to do an example bar graph activity to just show you how to read and understand bar graphs, okay? Now, this is not going to be what you have for homework. This is going to be just an example that I do, okay? And then I will show you what you're going to do for homework this week, okay? Let's have a look. Well, this bar graph is going to talk about favorite breakfast foods. Breakfast. That is my favorite meal of the day. All right. So first we're going to look at our vertical axis that has the number of votes. Okay. And if we look at the numbers, they go in threes. 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay. In the horizontal axis, we have all of our breakfast foods. So we have pancakes, eggs, waffles, and French toast. Now down here is where we're going to have to answer questions. So let's look at number 1. It says complete the table. So you see in our table we have breakfast food and we have number of votes, but we don't have all of the information. Let's start with waffles. Okay, so we have waffles here, but we don't have the number of votes. So we look at waffles, and it looks like 2 votes were for waffles. Now, for the next part, we have the number of votes, but we don't have the breakfast food. The number of votes is 6. But what breakfast food has 6 votes? Well, we have waffles, that's not it. We have pancakes, that's not it. So we have 2 more. We have eggs and we have French toast. And it looks like eggs got 6 votes. For the next part, we have pancakes. So we have the breakfast food, but we don't have the number of votes. So we look at our bar graph, and it looks like 7 votes were for pancakes. And finally, the last breakfast food that's missing, that only got 3 votes, well, that's French toast. Capital F for French, because this is called a proper adjective. Okay? There we go. Now, we're going to look at question number 2. How many people chose eggs as their favorite breakfast food? So all we have to do is just look at either the bar graph or we can look at the information in the table. Okay, so we can look at eggs and we see 6 people. I'm going to use words to write my answers. Number 3, how many people chose waffles? Well, again, I can look up here and I can see 2 people chose waffles. Number 4, does the scale on this graph count by 2s, 3s, 4s, or 12s? So remember before I said we counted by 3s, 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, right? So I'm going to say it counts by 3s. I'm going to write it out. Number 5, suppose 3 more people voted for French toast. How many votes would French toast have? Now this is easy. French toast already has 3 people that voted for it. If 3 more people voted, how many would that give us? 3 plus 3 gives us 6 people. Number 6, how many people voted in all? So all we have to do is just add up the number of votes. So 2 plus 6 is 8, 8 plus 7 is 15, 15 plus 3 gives us 18. And I'm going to write 18 people. There we go. And finally, how many more people voted for eggs than French toast? Well, let's look at the numbers. 6 people voted for eggs. 3 people voted for French toast. How many more people voted for eggs than French toast? 3 more people. And that's it. Very easy. Okay? So now, let's look at your homework for tonight. Yay! You knew it was going to be a lot more, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the directions for each part for you. Okay? So for question 1, it says, the following bar graph shows the number of pies sold daily at the bakery for 5 days. Okay? Here's the bar graph you're going to use for part 1. Okay? And you're going to use this to answer A through F. Okay? We'll do one together. A. What does M stand for? Well, we have M, T, W, T, H, F. Our horizontal axis is talking about days of the week, right? So if I'm being asked what does M stand for, I'm going to say it stands for Monday. M-O-N-D-A-Y. There we go. B, what does F stand for? C, how many pies were sold on Tuesday? D, how many pies were sold on Wednesday? E, what day were the least pies sold? So when we talk about least, we talk about the smallest number, okay? What day were the most pies sold? When we talk about most, we talk about the biggest number. Okay? Now, let's look at part 2. It says, the following bar graph shows where people would travel to for vacation if they could choose one of the destinations. The destination is place. Okay? So, we need to turn it this way to look at it because it's a bit different this time, right? Now, what was the most popular destination in A? The most popular, I'm looking. So we have 3 places. We have London, New York, and China. And it looks like New York is the most popular destination. I'm very happy because New York is Mr. Waterman's hometown. Okay. B, what was the least popular destination? C, how many people were asked? So you need to look at the number of people and you need to add them all together, okay? D, how many people preferred London? E, how many different locations were chosen? So we have London, New York, China. How many locations is that? F, what location was preferred by less than 10 people? Now, let's look at part 3. Part 3. Use the tally chart to complete the bar graph. Okay? So now what you need to do here is you need to put this information here, these numbers, and you need to make a bar graph. Okay? So I'm going to do the first one for you. Okay? So in our horizontal, right, axis, if we look at it that way, right, these are just going to be the shapes. And then in our vertical axis, we have the numbers. So the first shape we have a triangle, and it looks like 6. Now, when you draw this in, okay, be sure that you use a ruler to draw a straight line, as straight as possible, okay? So my numbers here go in 2s, 2, 4, 6. So this is to here. Okay, so I'm going to draw that all the way down. Then I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to draw it again. And then, there we go. And then if you want, you can shade it in very, very lightly, like I'm doing. Okay? Be careful not to go outside of the lines. There we go. Part 4. To the right is the number of books each student read for a readathon. Complete the bar graph based on the tally chart. Okay, so we have the students, Zoe, Zach, Wally, Vera, Walter, Victor. And our vertical axis, we have the total number of books read. It goes in 5s, 0, 5, 10, 15. And then in our horizontal axis, we have the number of students. Okay? So I'm going to put Zoe in first, since she's student A. Okay? And it looks like Zoe read 10 books. Okay? So I'm going to use the little marker here that they have for each 1 as a starting point. So A, Zoe read 10 books. So I'm going to draw my line to 10. And just to make sure, and then draw my line down. And then you can shade it in like I shaded it in before. Okay? Shade it in just like that. Make sure it's nice and neat and that you stay in the line. Okay? Now, for part 5, it says, A, what was the total number of pies sold in question 1? The total number of pies sold in question 1. So what you need to do is you need to go back up and you need to add all the numbers together from this information. That's going to give you the total number of pies. Okay? B, what vacation destination was preferred by more than 10 people in question 2? So here's question 2. Which one was preferred by more than 10 people? Part C, or what was the total number of circles in question 3? Here's question 3. What's the total number of circles? And D, how many books were read altogether for the readathon in question 4? So you need to add all of these numbers up, and that's going to give you the answer. Finally, for part 6, on a separate sheet, it says create a table using the information from question 1. So there's question 1, right? That's the information. We have a bar graph, but they want you to create a table that looks kind of like that, okay? Or that. And you can do that on the back of this paper. All right. That's it, everyone. Long math lesson today, but I hope you learned a lot. I hope you all stay safe and well. And remember everything that I talked about today for graphs. Okay? And more specifically, bar graphs. I'm going to scan this information and I'm going to put it up on my page for you to review. And if you have any questions about bar graphs, please email Mr. Waterman and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Stay safe and well and take care. See you all very soon. Bye-bye.